All right. Well, thank you for joining us back here again, beautiful people of the earth. Today we're going to finish up with Mr. T's case. This dark case that it has been. And it hasn't been too long since I published the last video, but the numbers are way down. I figured more people would be interested in this. It's kind of depressing. But if you watch the last video, what I was talking about with the order, and the witness, eyewitness, no accuser appear, order discharge. You see, that's kind of what the judicial officer is there for, is to be a witness for the state. I was talking about this a fair amount back when I was talking with the magistrate about opening up the court. And just like I just wish and required for her to come over and witness our court, they're holding court. One of the elements of having a court is that there has to be some type of harm, injury, or loss. That's the way you get jurisdiction. And because there's no accuser on the record, obviously, you can't have any jurisdiction. So we just wish for a judicial officer to do their job, witness the fact that there was no accuser on the record, and do their job and dismiss it. I mean, he was moving, that's exactly what an attorney would do, except differently. And they can't say that there's no accuser on the record because they got duty to the Bar Association. Anyways, I heard that the Supreme Court of Tennessee has Philip Kemp's writ, so I guess now start calling them and seeing if they've answered it yet, when they're going to answer it, when they're going to hear it. When are you guys going to hear it? When are you going to publish your opinion? When are you going to make sure that you guys get courts of law back? That would be a pretty good question to have. So, anyways, let's continue on Mr. T's case. Let's see what's going on here.
Hi. Hello? Hi, this is the Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah, Tom Muddles, a month or something, called me, and I was trying to get back in touch with him.
Okay, let me see if you're speaking of Mr. Ammons.
Yeah, Ammons.
Yeah, just a moment. Let me see if he's available.
No, I got it recording.
Is that you, Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Okay. You must maybe going through a bad spot or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me okay now?
I can.
Okay, great. Again, I made some inquiries about your complaint that you had on Judge Hunt. I did contact the district attorney's office and talk to them about it. Your complaint was of an extortion. And in North Carolina, that criminal statute doesn't apply to what your complaint is in regards to that. So the district attorney, with regard to his assistant DA that was in the courtroom, there's nothing criminally that they feel as if Judge Hunt did, and that we don't investigate anything but criminal complaints or criminal matters.
You see, this is why we open a court of our own jurisdiction, is because I told you this in that video. If we opened it in your jurisdiction, you guys probably wouldn't care. Even though we have verifiable harm, injury, and loss, they don't care. They don't care. Even though they make up all of the stuff to use against you. It's all just BS, made up. It's a figment of the imagination. But we can't get in actual court. You're telling me that arresting somebody for not speaking and threatening them with arrest to try and get them to speak is not extortion or coercion that can be criminally prosecuted?
So there's nothing that we can do for you in regards.
And again, This is why we got to bring back private prosecutions. And I'll get back to that video segment as soon as I get done with everything else that I do for you people for free. So please, donate. It would really, really help. It really would.
To that matter. So if you've got a complaint against a judge, you can file a complaint against the judge with the North Carolina State Ethics Commission if you think that there's something that he did that's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he threw him in jail for exercising his right to remain silent.
But again, I don't have anything that I can do in regards for you on your complaint. I did file your complaint. It is in our computer system, so it is there. So it has been documented. And the notes that I took have been documented as well. And I put the notes that you gave me, and I attached it to it. So it's in our computer system that you came by.
Well, I mean, my word is valuable monetarily. For instance, if I make a verbal contract with you, then that's value. If we leave it at my word, I mean, honestly, my word is priceless.
Yeah. And that's good to know, because I feel the same way about mine, is that my word is what I tell you is what I'm going to do. And if I don't do something that I tell you I'm going to do, then it's not worth anything. So I can in regards to that.
Your word loses.
The courts are going to look at it differently. Courts are going to look at it differently, Mr. Cross.
Yeah, you want to know why? Because courts don't value the truth at all in our society. In fact, I got an audio from somebody the other day where literally they're being sued individual against individual, no attorneys involved, and the suit wasn't verified. And they call up and they're like, hey, doesn't the plaintiff have to verify their suit? What if they're just making everything up? Apparently, they don't have to verify their suit. They can just make everything up. So people can just pull you into court on completely false allegations, drag you through trial. If you prove that their allegations were false, well, too bad. Thanks for your money. If you don't prove that their allegations were false, then they can just take your money with false allegations. And I got a case, an example of that, coming up soon. And they're going to do it to you if you don't do something about it. If we don't actually get this conspiracy off the internet and off the ground, they're coming for you next. But see, courts don't look at it that way. The courts don't see your word as valuable, or your connections with other people, or your relationships. They don't care about you. But you have to do what they tell you to.
I wish to settle this matter in private, if possible, sir, with the prosecutor.
You just heard me whispering into his ear, and then you just heard him say what I just said. I was behind the bar, stepping in as the next friend, because Andrew has the right to counsel. And at this point in time, they know that his mom died. And now I'm sure that there were a lot of people in that jurisdiction starting to feel really bad, starting to feel like this guy's getting a really raw deal. We've locked him up for asking who the accuser is, what he did wrong, and how can he make it right. And then we locked him up for exercising his right to remain silent. And when we did that, his mom died.
Yes, sir. You want to have a minute to talk to the district attorney then? Is that what you'd like to do?
Yeah, try and work it out in private.
To be next to a assistant. What's your name, Jesus?
My name is Jonathan Cross. Do y'all mind if I just meet you, John? Because he really doesn't understand what's going on.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I'm okay with y'all. However you feel like you need to do this.
He really didn't understand. It's really kind of insane to try to explain to people, well, what the state's actually going to court with is your legal persons that they created and they wish for you to believe is you, so that y'all will create joinder whenever they wish to make you perform as their slave however they wish. That's really a hard thing to understand. But that's what's going on. It's the only thing that makes sense. Otherwise, we're just completely lawless. I mean, if you can just drag me into court and lock me up for years of my life when I haven't done anything wrong, that's just lawless. Otherwise, and I'm going to go with this one, they have this entire system set up where they create the birth certificate. The birth certificate is used to create a social security number. The social security number is your incorporated civil body. It's a corporation, which is why you can use your social security number as an EIN number if you have a sole proprietorship LLC, because it was already incorporated. It's just you're an employee of the government. You're a slave of the government's. That's how it really works out. And if it doesn't work out that way, then just tell me, how can they do what they're doing in law? How can they administrate Kemp and his family? How can they just lock this guy up? What are they doing? What's wrong with them?
Here's the thing, like he has a document to present today, and this is an exhibit from it, and this is the road that he was arrested on, where the officer, stopped him. And it's a private road. The officer had no warrant. Okay. And you guys can motion to dismiss because this evidence has just come to light to y'all, and y'all wish to remain honorable, or we can keep moving forward, and he's going to have to press this document upon record.
Okay. So what that is, just so you know.
All right. Just so we're real clear on this one, he had a lot more than just the proof that it was a private road. Okay? But the prosecutor is supposed to uphold law. Like Greg Newman said numerous times, he let a bunch of rapists go because he has to uphold their rights too. Because rapists have rights. We gotta, let them speak and be heard, all that good stuff. Here's the thing is that we're telling you it was an unlawful seizure. You're on private property. Everybody knows this at this point. It's not a PVA. Honestly, it's your job not to prosecute. You know he didn't break the law. I mean, he didn't even break the statute. Well, we're going to move forward anyways. And when I was talking about you can get out of this now, honorably, well, you're going to hear why in just a minute. Because we turn around, we go back into the courtroom, and Mr. T is going to make a declaration here in a minute. But I think they have something else that might just...
Y'all wish to remain honorable, or we can keep moving forward, and he's going to have to press this document upon record.
Okay. So what that is, just so you know, because I think he's going to go over it too, is that the 1996 is where you plead responsible, okay? You do some community service. You abide by the terms of the 1996, and then...
See, they're still offering him a 9096. He didn't need an attorney to get one. He didn't need an attorney to turn him over the courts. They would have been more than willing to allow him to turn himself over to the courts, still offering him a 9096.
If they come back in 6 to 12 months, depending, they dismiss the charge if we judge everything.
Right. I would just say most of these are wrong. Decades. It wasn't going out and hitting old ladies over the heads and taking money from them. I understood going out my driveway.
See, Andrew keeps up with, okay, in 1996, like as soon as you tell me the nature of the wrong, and you can't tell me that selling pot is wrong, you might not believe in it, you might not like to do it, you might not smoke it, you might have never bought it in your life, but you can't tell me that it's wrong. You didn't hurt anybody. And I understand. See, they understand our arguments. We just can't understand why they would actually lock people up for not doing anything wrong. Do you understand that? Is that comfortable with you? Do you agree with that?
I just want to know who my accuser is. I wish to know who my accuser is. Face my accuser. If I've done anything wrong, maybe right with that.
Yeah, I mean, he wishes to settle any matter of contrast. When Zachary testified, and he testified that Andrew was trying to sell him marijuana.
Correct. I wasn't there. I get that, but I don't remember. I do so many of these.
Well, Zachary testified that Andrew was trying to sell him marijuana. And I just believe that it's going to be an extremely hard sell to the jury that fully uniformed officer. This guy's just going to go up to him and ask him, hey, you want to buy marijuana?
I mean, and that's possible.
Worked out.
Called him right out about the cop's perjury on the stand. I feel bad for the man who was acting as an officer because they went back and I don't know what they said to him, but they made his life miserable because he got caught lying on the stand. And the reason I feel bad for him is because they're probably the ones who told him to do it. So he was just doing what he was told, but then when he got caught, it's like, oh, it's all on you.
We've talked. I don't think we can work anything out.
Okay, so this is when we come back into the courtroom. As you just heard the prosecutor say, we talked, but we can't work anything out because they're not going to be honorable. They can let child rapists go, but not somebody with pot. You know, they can uphold child rapists' rights, but they can't uphold the rights of people on their own private property, handling their own private business. And if you don't see this as incredibly scary, pick a number. They're coming.
That's pressure. What I would like to do is go over a few things, and that's they've asked for a couple of documents. The state is going to provide everything that we have, and
I'm just playing this to really hammer home. They didn't even give him discovery until the day before trial. This is at like 5 o'clock, and they're scrambling to give him discovery. Okay? Even though he wrote to him at the beginning of the case and said, hey, I require discovery. They didn't care.
with the court's permission, we're going to make a copy of the court file and give him everything that he can get from in there as well. In addition, the state did offer him the ability to plead guilty and have the charge reduced so that it would fall under the 1996 statute.
It's a declaration.
Okay. This is Andrew making a declaration in the middle of open court. To me, this is kind of like that Philip Kemp moment, you know, serving barratry in the middle of an open court. What are they going to do? Deny you your right to access a court of law? I guess so. But it was like, that should be a showstopper. This should be a showstopper. At the very least, it should show you how messed up it's gotten. How utterly insane the entire system is. Okay? And it's not going to change unless we all do something about it. Because you heard I had that criminal complaint filed against Jeff Hunt. They even looked into it, talked about it. When Thomas McAvoy Britton arrested myself and Henry Ramo because I just helped Henry Ramo stand up, they wouldn't even allow us to file a declaration or a complaint or anything. When we were down in Polk County, they ran from us, the court officers ran from us, the police ran from us, ran into their little building and locked the doors because there were like 10 of us going down there to help Linda swear out a warrant and open a court. Within months, they were just like, nope, we're shutting this whole thing down. And that's the way it's going to continue. Like, unless we start amassing people and getting down to the courthouses and having law returned, they're going to administrate everything that you think you have right out from under you, including your children. Look at what's happening. Listen to this declaration.
Saying that I, man, verify verify in open court and on the record, this being recorded, correct? All I say is true. I believe the man who acts as prosecutor moves a false claim against I. I have right to face my accuser. No accuser appears on record. Said false claim interferes with my obligations to private contracts. False claim is cause of harm, injury, loss to I, family, and fellow man. False claim originates on private land. Exhibit A is here, and Zachary, the officer, is witness and not accuser.
Yes, sir.
For the record.
We'll have to get out into the record.
Did you hear that? He declared that there was a false claim. That the false claim causes him harm, injury, and loss. That the false claim is getting in the middle of private contracts. That where the false claim originated happened on private property. And the judicial officer just goes, yes, sir. We'll file that for you. We're not throwing anything out because we got to beat you into submission and remind you that you are our slave, because you don't have the right to private contract. If they can get in the middle of it and interfere with it, you don't have the right to private contract. You don't have the right to private property. If they can just come up and arrest you and just make some stuff up, you don't have the right to private property. And they don't care if they move a false claim against you. And they obviously don't care how much harm, injury, and loss you sustain while they do all of this. All you gotta do is have a conscience. Let's hear this just a little bit again. Let's see if we can get him, Yes, sir? Listen.
Verify in open court and on the record, this being recorded, correct? Yes, sir. All I say is true. I believe the man who acts as prosecutor moves a false claim against I. I have right to face my accuser. No accuser appears on record. Said false claim interferes with my obligations to private contracts. False claim is cause of harm, injury, loss to I, family, and fellow man. False claim originates on private land. Exhibit A is here, and Zachary, the officer, is witness and not accuser.
Oh, and that's another thing. You don't have the right to have an accuser anymore either. My bad.
The officer is witness and not accuser.
Yes, sir.
For the record.
You heard that? Yes, sir.
Exhibit A is here, and Zachary, the officer, is witness and not accuser.
Yes, sir.
For the record.
Yes, sir.
We'll have to get out into the record.
Put it into the record.
Anything else on behalf of the state?
I don't have a copy of it.
Be ready for the jury first thing in the morning.
I'm asking time when I receive the packet so that I can review everything, because I have not received anything. I did not know I was coming here today either.
Okay.
From looking online.
What we'll do then is we'll let you get the package to them, and we'll give you this afternoon and tomorrow, I guess, tonight to look at it. I don't know what's in the package myself either, but we'll make sure you get it here in the next 10 or 15 minutes.
So we haven't given you a package. We haven't given you discovery all of this time. We're just now going to give you discovery. So obviously you don't have the right to prepare a trial either. Because we're going to force you to be back here at 9 a.m. Even though it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You haven't even looked at it. We're going to force you to be back here. We're not going to give you any more time. After we beat you up, steal your property, throw you back in jail, and you sit there when your mom's dies, we don't let you out to go to her memorial service, which it was after her memorial service at T-Man's house where he met Loam, which is Oracle's brother, or Joni's brother, and that's how Henry and I, Baba and I, got together. So that's kind of the whole backstory to that. So let's hear what happens at trial. You're going to hear me back in chambers with them. Okay, pay attention. And this is proof, like all the other quote-unquote gurus, how many of them have you actually seen step back as next friend? Just offer one of them to come to court with you and see how quick they run. Because they don't have real law. They don't know it inside of their heart. That's why they're scared. That's why they're scared. See, I can't be scared because I got real law right here in my heart.
How are you? Listen, we normally do all this out there, but the jury pool's sitting out there, so we're going to go back here. You got two witnesses, right? What do you anticipate? Do you anticipate having any testimony or not?
I just have a closing statement.
And he wishes, if he doesn't speak throughout the trial, doesn't object, doesn't do anything, will you uphold his right to have the last word?
Oh yeah, he's entitled to that right. But
Alright, check this out. He doesn't introduce any evidence. He doesn't perform in the trial. He doesn't do anything. He lets you guys do your entire circus and charade. You're going to uphold his right to have the last word, right? Where he can say whatever he wishes to try and sway the jury. Yeah, because that's the law. That's the law.
if you don't testify, if you don't present any evidence, then by law you're entitled to have the last argument to the jury. Okay? Right. If you do present evidence, then that changes, and you have to go first, just by the way our rules are. Okay?
If you do these things, then the way the law works changes. Because now you're participating in the trial. See, T-Man, he didn't participate in the trial at all. Throughout the entire trial, he kept on saying, I'm not the defendant. I won't accept title of being the defendant. Where's the accuser? No accuser appears on record. Okay?
I wish to be sworn in just so that the jury knows that I'm telling the truth. Is that can I put my hand in the Bible?
All right. And we can let you be sworn in, but I'll tell you, this is evidence, and I've already told the jury this is to be considered by them as evidence. But if you'd like to be sworn, I mean, I have no objection to doing that, but we just want to make sure that you understand and the jury understands what you say.
So they went through the whole trial, okay? And this is at the very end. He's asking to be sworn in. So the jury knows everything he's saying is true. Because us people who actually care about law and our word means something, it matters. It matters. And he's like, yeah, you can swear in, I don't care, but the jury cannot consider any of what you're about to say as evidence. Okay. Just let me say it.
I would just like you to know that I had before this. I
several notices, as is almost last August. This is my 9th time here, and it has come to the jury. I wish to take a moment to tell you people of Polk County who I am. Just know that I get up every day. I have a small company called Tickle, which services sheetrock and paint to the contractors and to renovations and etc. to every kind of building and construction. I love to go hiking, metal detecting, and arrowhead hunting. I live up on a mountain 2 miles away from my mailbox, way up there, which is where I met Officer Allman. I hardly ever see any cars coming down that road, and there's not enough room for one vehicle. Also, my family lives here in North Carolina, West North Carolina. My father is here, my 2 brothers, and 2 nephews. Now, I'm not a bad man. I'm very conscious of my surroundings and being honorable to my fellow man. So why are we here, and what did I do wrong? I got this package, like I said, about 18, 20 hours ago of discovery, so I haven't had very long to do it, so excuse me in my fumbling. So why are we here, and what did I do wrong? These are good questions, and I don't really have any good answers for that. We all know why we're here. The state made a statute equals law, and Officer Allman, driving upon private property, which my road is marked as, arrested me for violating one of those so-called statutes. As soon as I got out of jail, I wrote to Officer Allman to ask if I did anything wrong, and how could I make it right. Also, in the letter, I thanked him for his services for protecting our beautiful land and natural resources, because these are things that are very important to me, and part of who I am. I sent him 2 letters after I was arrested, and he picked it up 2 days after that, and he never answered back to the letter. Since that day, I've asked the courts 8 times in multiple ways what I did wrong, where the verified claim is, and who the accuser is. The court never answered, and one judge told me that I would never get an answer to my simple questions. How could this be? Does every man and woman not have a right to know what they did wrong and who they did it to? On one of the first court days, I saw the prosecutor at lunch and tried to settle this matter of wrongdoing.
I'll sustain any of that, so ask you to just skip it.
Okay. The 4th time in court, September 27th, Zachary Allman testified that I offered to sell him the car, and that same day, Mr. Atkins went ahead and entered a not guilty plea on my behalf after I filed a notice.
Check. This time not an accident. At least keep this to arguments about the evidence.
Yes, sir. You guys are just.
He was just trying to tell his side of the story. Wrote up, I think, 9 pages. We're about to find out here in a minute. You're the judge. Yep. You let them do their whole circus and charade. You get the last word. Apparently not. And this is why you 100% know that they're not just going to open up a court for you to go talk about these stories and actually sue somebody mano a mano. Because they stopped it right here. Not only will they not allow you to do that, they won't even allow you to talk about it when they're moving their case. That is the whole reason why Edward Snowden will not come back to the United States. He's told several administrations, I'll come back and stand trial if I can just tell the jury why I did what I did. Nope. And I wish for this to be a good lesson for anybody who ever goes to sit on a jury. Because this entire time, all he's been doing is asking, what have I done wrong? Where's the verified complaint? Where's the accuser? Who did I hurt? How do I make it right? Without being your slave. And the entire time, they've kept on pounding on him and pounding on him and enslaving him and locking him up when his mom died. They've caused him a whole lot of harm, injury, and loss. Not only can he not get a real court of law to try to handle that, but they won't even allow him to talk about it in their circus and charade statutory court. And think about that if you ever sit on a jury, especially if the government's moving against them, because you only hear what the government wants you to hear. They can throw out evidence. They can decide what's relevant, what's not relevant. They control the entire stage and performance. So unless they're being accused of murder, I think you should basically go with not guilty. Just my opinion. You gotta go up to the bench to talk about it. It's kind of hard to hear. I'm trying to make out what I can, and I'll tell you what I can make out. He's saying you can only talk about the evidence that's in this case. You can only argue certain things. You don't have free range. See, and that's huge right there. He has a right to be fully heard. Like, he didn't join your circus and charade court. In law, he has the right to be fully heard. He didn't argue with you. He didn't try and defend himself. He didn't do a number of things to protect this one final right. And they still run over it. They didn't uphold any of this man's rights. None. And if you're okay with not having any God-given rights because the government took them all, and stay at home and do nothing, but they're denying him his right to be fully heard. So he keeps on basically saying, you can't talk about anything except the evidence that we produce, the evidence that we've been given that we produced against you. No, because that doesn't really go with his right to be fully heard. This is a completely kangaroo, one-sided court. It's absolutely insane. The reason we're whispering is because the jury is still in the room. He's about to dismiss the jury. See, he's saying he can't talk about anything outside of evidence. He can't talk about his experience. He can't talk about what he has experienced from this case. Because some of your evidence goes along with his experience. He can't talk about his experience. They're saying it has nothing to do with the case. Yes, it does. It's his entire experience about the case. He wouldn't have had this experience had the case never existed. Believe me, we were doing just fine without the government coming and getting involved.
He said, okay, why don't we do this then, just so we don't keep coming back and forth. Let me send the jury out, and we'll look at what you got written down, and we'll make sure that what you have sent up is proper and proper, okay? Yes, sir.
See, we stayed up all night writing his closing argument because, well, we only had about 14 hours before we had to be back in court. What else were we going to do? And they won't let them share it. They won't let them talk about it. So they're going to send the jury out so that he can read the closing argument and decide what they will and will not allow into their not court of law. And this is what happens when you follow the wrong gods. Okay? Is that these statue gods, these statutory gods, see, they don't care about the truth. They don't care about your word. They don't care what really happened. They don't care about your experience. They don't care. The only thing they care about is you being their slave. That's it. That's it. This is when I knew that we were in real trouble. And please stick around till the end because, believe it or not, the story does actually get better. And it even has a decent ending. So let's see their editing skills.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you, we're not taking an official break. I'm just going to ask you, if you don't mind, close your notebooks, leave them there, and just have a seat or step back in the jury deliberation room. We'll be back with you shortly. Stay right here. You can stay right here, but I'm going to get this on the record.
Okay, so the jury's already left. I don't know if you've caught on to this or not, but, you know, I mean, I have hours and hours and hours of recordings. I mean, I think just on the trial day alone, I probably have about 8 hours of recordings. So I've just been trying to do the highlights, telling the story. And I hope if you're still watching my channel, you trust me enough to do that because I'm not going to leave anything real important out, you know, but people are busy and they just don't care about one another so much, which is probably why the last video didn't get so many views, even though people should really watch it. So, jury's gone. We're kind of talking a little more openly.
Just to let you know what happened, to get it on the record, we are now outside the presence of the jury. There was an objection made to part of your closing argument. And I'm going to give everybody a chance so we don't keep interrupting your closing argument to see what you want to say, if there's any objections that are going to be, because there's certain things you can talk about, certain things you can't talk about. You don't have free reign to say anything. You have to, your closing has to be limited to what the evidence was and the evaluation of the evidence, okay? It's got to be consistent with those instructions I gave the jury. So what I want you to do is let's take a look at that. Let's make sure that there's nothing in there that's going to be objectionable.
No, he's going to object to all of it. I mean, it's...
No. I mean, yeah. I mean, and listen, this is all on the record, so...
Yeah.
So anything you say...
I need your full name.
We're going to have to get your...
My name's Jonathan David Cross.
But I need to just talk to him at this point, okay? So.
See, they rejected his right to counsel by the end too, because this man knew this was the superior court. Like, this man, his name's Joseph Crosswhite, and when this trial was going on, and I don't know about now, but when this trial was going on, he was the president of the Superior Court Judges Conference for North Carolina. He was basically the highest judicial officer before you get to, the Supreme Court, more or less. I mean, you could kind of count the Court of Appeals, but I don't really see them as higher judicial officers. So he knew that I knew what I was talking about. He knew that if I could speak, then I would definitely put some things on the record, if we're even on the record, that would make what he was about to do more difficult. In fact, some of the stuff that Andrew put in the notices that I did in the last video, that nobody watched. But some of that stuff, like, I don't think they would have filed it. I don't think it would have been in the file, except for the fact that he wrote down, he did a notice on how many notices Jody Everett was going to take from the jail to the actual court. Otherwise, I think they would have probably taken the notice out about him requiring to see a magistrate to swear out an arrest warrant. And the whole reason he didn't swear out an arrest warrant is because his mom died. He was done fighting. He didn't care. Your perspective changes. He's just done. That, and he didn't want every single officer to start pulling him over, ripping him out of his car, and arresting him for every little thing all the time because he swore out a warrant against the judge. And until we get private prosecutions back, it's not like the DA is going to do a real good job prosecuting.
Let's look at that. Let's go through that. And I'm not talking about you objecting. I'm talking about what he's going to object to, because I want to give you the opportunity to go through and make your closing without constantly being, So why don't we do it? That's why I asked if you had any.
And why didn't you just give him his last word? If you wanted him to go through without these objections, then why didn't you just give him a tiny fraction of the respect he has given you by staying quiet this entire persecution and let him say his piece? I want to give your kids back. All you gotta do is everything I say. All you gotta do is be my slave. I want to give your kids back. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to be my slave.
And written down. And what I'm going to ask you to do is and your intention is to you're basically reading through that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll be watching it. Watching it all night.
No, and that's fine. That's fine. What we want to do is I'm going to let you go through there and just clean up anything that's not been evidence in this trial. Okay. You can't bring up, okay?
See, anything that we didn't present to them, you can't talk about. Because that's a surefire way we're going to get the jury to convict you. Is by just not letting you try to convince them of anything. And definitely don't let the truth in here. And definitely don't talk about what we've done to you. We can't have them looking at us like bad people.
And again, here are the instructions I want you to do. It says the final argument.
You can only say
it's not evidence, but
you can only say what we allow you to say. No right to remain silent, no freedom of speech, no private property, no right to the accuser. Americans, you have lost all of your rights, and you want to know why? Because most of y'all have lost your backbone. A lot of people are too afraid of the government to say anything. Oh no, I can't do that. What happens when they come and take all my stuff? they're coming if you don't do anything.
It's given to assist them in evaluating the evidence. So you have to limit it to what you're talking about as far as the evidence is. The parties are permitted to argue, to characterize the evidence, and to attempt to persuade the jury to a particular verdict. So what you need to do is limit it to...
Okay, he just said, and persuade the jury to rule in your favor, something like that. And I'm whispering in his ear, because I'm trying to get Andrew to argue. Okay, but Andrew's scared. And he doesn't know what's going on, and he doesn't understand. But argue, look, what you're doing is you're doing what you know how to do to persuade them not to convict you. They've been telling you to be the defendant this entire time, but they're not going to afford you your right to self-defense. And that's basically what it comes down to.
What the evidence shows, okay? So anything that's not been disclosed as evidence, you can't bring that up. So why don't you go through, mark out anything that is not evidence. If there's something you're not sure about, do you have an objection to maybe letting him show it to you beforehand and see if you're going to object to it or not?
Yeah, I've got it. Or if he wants to read through it, I can just... I'm trying to give you wide latitude. I've let in how many times you've been to court and a bunch of things that are objectionable. I'm giving you as wide a latitude as I can.
I'm trying to help you out, buddy. I let in these things that I'm not supposed to let in when we're in my normal statutory court, because I don't really understand how a court of law works. But you should be so grateful to me because I'm persecuting you and trying to get you locked up. But I really gave you as much leeway as I could. I let you tell them how many times you came to court, but I'm not going to let you tell them that we beat you up and threw you in a hole while your mom died.
So I'm going to let in as much as I can for you, with still being in the bounds of being a prosecutor.
Yeah, but just like I said, if you have settlement negotiations or anything like that, that absolutely can't come in at all.
It's not going to.
Yeah, so go through it, clean it up. I'm going to let you guys talk about it, and then, let's go through it sort of quickly, and then we can get back to the jury on this, okay? Yeah.
They want to say that my...
Alright, so I kind of cut out this next little part where I'm working with the prosecutor on what he's going to allow and not allow. And we end up actually having it to where Andrew can tell the jury that the government made him take out this many pages.
Objection is what made them have to strike down there.
We don't even have to say it was the objection. We can just say, the closing argument went from 9 pages to 3.
That's fine. Let's do this. Let's get this all on record. We'll bring the jury in with you. Okay. So we'll put it at step. No, not on the website.
So we can tell the jury went from 9 pages to 3. 2/3 of what we wrote out the night before, after getting discovery earlier that afternoon, they just won't allow at all. Trust the government that much? Let's see how Christian of a nation the jury is.
My closing statement was taken from 9 pages in the 3. The judge said at the beginning of this trial that the jury is the best way to secure liberty in a form of government.
You hear that? I got that on recording. The judge said at the beginning of the trial, the jury is the best way to secure liberty because the jury is the law. It doesn't matter what the government writes or this or that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's up to the jury. So if you're ever on a case like this, kind of like he's asking, where's the harm, injury, and loss? If you walk back into the jury deliberation room and you just simply tell them that you have no faith in their statue, it's jury nullification. They're going to throw it out. It's just as powerful as Mr. T-Man saying it. In fact, it's more powerful because they haven't just ran over that one yet. Well, let's hope we still got that right.
Just for your knowledge, I have not fought the government this whole process. I do not act as a defendant because I do not believe I have anything to defend. I believe that I am being persecuted. The definition for persecuted reads, pursued in a manner to injure, to harass, with unjust punishment and penalties for supposed offences, like having no accuser. We, the public, produce courts and government for our use and benefit. But right now, that is a foreign concept to me. I wasn't being told of my court date yesterday until I was informed by John, my learned friend here. He pointed out that I was on the docket, but had not been informed. I only had 17 or 18 hours, like I say, to run this, which is now reduced down to 3 pages. From the time I got home,
I actually kind of forgot about this until I just heard it right there. But that's another big part of the story. They didn't even tell him the day before when we went into court. They didn't even tell him that he had a court date. They didn't even notify him. They just had him on the docket. And it was my personal opinion that they were planning to issue a bench warrant, have him arrested, spend the night in jail, and then do this trial. Come on, American people. Are y'all going to help Mike Tyson beat up Steve Urkel? For real? I mean, it's like, how low down and dirty can you get? And then he said something else that I was going to say. Something about...
I only had 17 or 18 hours, like I say, to run this, which is now reduced down to 3 pages.
Oh, and again, they took away 2/3 of his closing argument, of his closing statement. 2/3.
The time I got home with the discovery was in my jury trial meeting. Had I not been informed, I most certainly would have been picked up and put in jail last night and be here in some kind of strike suit, which wouldn't look very good. So I thank John for getting me here and not missing my day. I call upon you people of this jury for justice in the name of freedom and the ideas of peace. Almost 250 years ago, the good people of this land fought and died for these ideas, freedom, peace. Now that you know who I am, I will leave you with saying this. That book I had to swear on, we all had to swear on, the Bible. The idea that God created every man and woman equal as a pillar in our society. In that book, there is a story where a woman was brought by the Pharisees on charges, and she was asked by a wise, very, very wise man, "Where is your accuser?" And she answered, "I have none." That wise man says to the crowd, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast the first stone."
This is how Christian of a nation that we live in. The jury knew that the government wouldn't let him talk about 2/3 of his closing statement that he had prepared. The jury knew that he had just gotten the disclosure, within the past 24 hours. The jury knew that he wasn't informed about his court date. Okay? And he ends, and the jury heard the opening part of the closing argument before they shut him down, where he's talking about, he's been asking them where the accuser is, what he's done wrong all of this time. And then he ends with talking about the Bible. You know, that book that we all had to swear on. There's a story about a woman who gets brought up on charges from the Pharisees. And Jesus asked her, "Where's thine accuser?" And she says, "I have none, my Lord." And it's the same story where he tells the crowd, "He who is without sin, let him cast the first stone." I mean, I thought that would at least get them to deliberate for 15 minutes. I went outside to smoke a cigarette. I wasn't even halfway done before they convicted him. All right. I thought I put in the sentencing. So, you know, he does I think 6 months of prison suspended, you know, so that's stayed or suspended, and then sentences him to 18 months of probation, you know, 12 or 16 drug classes, all this different stuff. And this is why I'm doing this story right now, is because this is how important knowing that an order is true, lawful, verified, and correct is. This is his first probation appointment. I looked at the order. I was like, nope. We put in documents saying that's not true, verified, and correct. In fact, when I first looked at it, I thought Joseph Crosswhite signed NA because the way his signature is really kind of looks like an NA. I had to go and pull his other signatures. I'm just going to say they don't match up exactly. But Joseph Crosswhite's smart. I mean, that man is smart in law. I'm going to give him that. Anyways, Andrew puts in documents like, hey, I'll carry out these orders. I'll carry out this judgment as soon as someone swears that it's true, lawful, and correct. Here's his first probation appointment. Or some of it. You know, some of the conversation.
Right here, I want you to take it to the sheriff's office in between now and your next appointment will be on April the 9th. Is have a DNA sample taken. It applies to that general statute if anybody's been convicted of a felony, okay? What they'll do is they'll sign off of it down here and date it, and you just return the document back to me, okay?
Jay, you know, Trace, somebody stole an hour.
What?
Somebody stole an hour.
Oh, they just...
Well, these clocks are right, but they weren't in Atlanta's at 7:30. But, you know, did you see what I filed into the court? Mm-hmm. Okay. Because, you know, I'm waiting. I'm telling you that I'll be happy to do whatever you want me to do, really. As soon as I can get somebody to sign off on this order that swears that it's a true order, you know. So I wrote to Joe, you know, like here at the back. I can, you know, I just really want to do this right. But as far as I know right now, this thing is like weird because everybody knows it's, you know, it's on private.
All I go off of, Mr. Tickle, is a signed court document. That's what I have. That's what you have.
See, that's all they say. All I know is a signed court document. I don't know if it's true, lawful, verified, and correct. Yeah, well, you would if one of those court officials who knew whether it was true, lawful, verified, and correct just swore under oath or affirmation that it was. You would know that, wouldn't you, officer? But he doesn't. All he sees is a court document. I'm just carrying it out. I'm just doing my job. I'm just following orders. You want to know who else followed orders? Nazis. Nazis followed orders.
But you're filing a report over there, they were under the impression that at one point you wanted to appeal your case, and the next time they said no, they didn't. The legal department said you didn't want to appeal your case. So unless you actually went out and wrote out that you wanted to appeal your case, the document that's signed by the judge in the file indicates you're on supervised probation and be convicted of a felony.
Yeah.
Okay, well, y'all heard him give Andrew a document, right? to go take a DNA test, because we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Do you hear him? He's like, if you want to appeal it, you can appeal it. Well, what's there to appeal if it's not a true, lawful, verified, and correct order? Nothing to appeal. So why would I appeal it? All they got to do is verify it. That's all.
Was it a class I? You supervise for whatever the judgment says you are. I don't have the thing right in front of me.
But it's still,
At least 12 months.
I just want to get it, I just want to get it like...
If you can get somebody to sign off on that, whatever, but...
To make it lawful, because like law enforcement, legal enforcement, I have next to no doubt it's legal, but is it lawful? You know where I live. It's private road, and like right by my house right there. So it's like I'm out in my yard, basically, on that track. It ain't no loop, no PPA. But if I can get somebody to do this, I don't want nobody to, it's a 12. You know, somebody can just sign off on this, and I don't want nobody
I can't sign off on anything that you ask me to sign off on.
No, I'm not.
I'm just saying, they're going to do it for you, Mr. Tickle.
Yeah.
Good luck to you, Godspeed.
You know,
Here's my document. I just need you to sign mine. I'm playing catch up. My father passed away. I've been out of work for the past 2 weeks.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay. No big deal.
My mother passed when I was in that building over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. On New Year's Eve. She hung on to New Year's Eve. And she was 80 years old. And she went with ALS. Horrible. Takes you away. They can't do anything for it. Shuts your body down. I'm sorry that.
It's okay. It is. This time, my doctor, next time we come back in here, only thing I'm asking you to do is just go to the sheriff's department and sit between now and then, then take the DNA sample. As far as getting that signed, Mr. Tickle, that's something you're going to take over them.
I know. But I really,
As far as getting that sign, as far as getting somebody down at the courthouse who knows enough to be able to tell you that that order is true, lawful, verified, and correct, good luck. They're never going to do it. Now, let's talk about this document that they were talking about here. But here's DNA testing, House Bill 79, General Statute. It says right here on the page, General Statute. You see, people, they're telling you 15A-266.4, whatever that means. On or after 12/1/03, all persons convicted of the following: any felony, assault on a handicapped person, or stalking, must have a DNA sample drawn. Individuals shall provide a sample immediately following sentencing by reporting to the sheriff. The sheriff is required by law to report to the county any offender who fails to report for DNA sampling. As officers of the court, your probation officer has an obligation to ensure the individuals under their supervision comply with the statutory requirements of the statute. And you see Andrew Tickle's name written in there. That's not Andrew's handwriting. Okay? And below that, it has offender's name, Joseph Caleb Cheatwood. Cheatwood. Like, out of all people. Cheatwood? Date of conviction, 2/7/2018. Qualifying offense, possession of meth. See, they didn't actually have a real judgment, so they couldn't actually get a real document for the DNA sampling testing thingy, but this should really worry anybody about DNA evidence, considering they might have completely put his DNA filed with someone else's name. And maybe they put his DNA or someone else's DNA with his name, and they're going to come back later and try and charge him with another crime he never did. You see, I've been doing this for a lot of years. And like I said, this is the first time I've seen the courts blatantly run over the law. And once they start running over the law, they don't stop. They don't stop. And the thing that's scary is now they're just doing it all the time. It doesn't even matter if they got skin in the game. It used to be like, well, if you're trying to go against a state officer or court officer, they're not going to let you do that because they have all these allegiances to each other. Just this past year, I saw a corporation, a fictional entity, bring a woman in on a false claim, and they let them do it and go all the way through. They can just make stuff up. And drag you through, no due process, go and steal your house, your car, everything. And they're going to do this to everybody if we don't start stopping them. And the reason I'm sharing all of this is because what happened to Philip Kent, in fact, family court used to be one of the easiest courts to lock people in and out of because, again, you don't have anybody who actually has real skin in the game. You just have a hired attorney, but it's all private stuff. It's all family business. Now they're just running over the law because Americans don't care. And Americans don't know the law, so they don't really know how to stop it. Which is why I'm sitting here trying to teach you the law, but I feel incredibly alone. I'm going up to Tennessee, and I hope anybody who's watching this and is serious is going to come and join me in Tennessee next week. The only reason I'm telling you is so that you can go ahead and start getting prepared. I've been saying I'm going to go up there. If they didn't have this thing worked out by the end of the week, they don't have it worked out. They just got it filed. They have up to 72 hours, and I just don't trust them. And I know which father I'm going to pick. I know which father I've picked. I don't know which one Americans are going to pick. Because if I go up there and they shut it down and nobody shows up in support, this whole thing could be over. Might not hear much from me after that. I pray to the Creator of all things that He puts it on your heart to accept His love. And if you can't accept His love, I guess we're all hellbound. Anyways, hope you understand why the story is so emotional for me. Well, that's it. Mr. T, I still love you, brother. I'm sorry it worked out that way. There's a story where Mr. T got pulled over like 3 a.m, probably 4 or 5 months after this. He thought they were going to rip him out of his car and they drag him to jail. The officer came back with his license, probably 10, 15 minutes later and said, "Have a nice night." And see, that's what I've noticed is that people who've gone through these situations and gone through the entire circus and charade, the court would usually leave them alone. But if Americans don't get real law in their heart, I can see that turning around real quickly. So either be a part of the conspiracy or pick a number, wait in line for it to happen to you. We are just conspiracy, and we just wish to conspire with other good people on this planet to leave a better world for future generations than the world we all grew up in. One world, love and peace.